I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans. And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field. Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
Hello and welcome to the Northwest Bank Studios for the Beat Reporters, our first episode of November. Welcome. I'm Jake Brend, joined by Ben Hutchens, Rob Gray. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Just great. Am I in the presence of the Cyclone Fanatic featured on the pregame lead-in to the Arizona State game? Are we in this presence? Who am I talking to right now? You guys are famous.
Well, Ben, you're in it too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, none of your.
I think I saw my foot.
Yeah, I'm sorry, none of your lines made the cut, but you were in the background of one of the shots. I want to say up.
The grizzled veteran. I had some people note that me, the old grizzled veteran, had to show up. So I guess exciting times for us at CF, right?
Yeah, that was cool. That was a lot of screen time for CDub. Aiden got quite a bit of run too.
It's nice.
Everyone, I guess everything's just coming up Cyclone Fanatic. And part of the reason things are going so well at Cyclone Fanatic is because of our great sponsors. Sponsors like Kelderman Manufacturing. If you just want to know how much of a diehard Jeff Kelderman is, he was texting me on Saturday and just making me depressed. It was, why did the Cyclones hurt me? I think that's what he said to me. So when you're doing business with Jeff Kelderman, you know that you are doing business with a diehard Cyclone that lives and breathes on every snap, every play, every second. So go and give Kelderman your business for all of your manufacturing needs. He also can make he makes a lot of signs. He can make funny signs. I don't know if you saw the one that he left down at Chris Hassel's front yard. He's prone to do that from time to time. So Kelderman's an awesome sponsor of what we do here at Cyclone Fanatic, and he's the proud presenting sponsor of the Beat Reporters podcast. We're gonna go full crossover mode today. We'll hit a couple football topics, a couple men's basketball topics, a couple women's basketball topics. So you'll get all of your fixing for your 3 of your 4 major Cyclone sports, but we are still in the heart of football season, despite the 4-game losing streak. And honestly, if we want to have some fun, I figured we'd just start with Ben's latest story over at the Quad City Times. Ben, tell us a little bit about what you've been working on.
Yeah, the fun thing that everybody knows from that Iowa State-Arizona State game was the shirtless student section. And good for those kids, man. On a 4-game losing streak, in the 50-degree rain, I mean, go out there and find a reason to cheer. And a shout-out to Noah Cottonsteady. He was the 19-year-old Cyclone fan who went out there and started that thing. I talked to him a little bit about why he went up there. You can check that story out when this episode posts on Thursday morning on the Quad City Times. But I think Noah was like a lot of Cyclone fans, guys. He just wanted something to cheer about. It's been, a month since the Cyclones have won a game, and he went up there right after Jeff Sims ripped everybody's hearts out with that 88-yard touchdown run. And he just wanted something to cheer about. And good for him for getting out there and starting a movement. I mean, we've seen it in college football. Iowa State, they pulled it off pretty well.
Well, I think, I just want to chime in real quick here. Isn't this kind of what Iowa State's football team needs to do? I mean, Rocco Becht talked about it repeatedly. Have fun playing football again. Coaches have alluded to it, just take the pressure off yourself, because when you start losing and you haven't lost much in the past 2 seasons, it can become a try too hard thing. And they're never going to say exactly what the issues are, and that's what makes it so difficult to deal with after, you win 5 in a row, lose 4 in a row. But talk about just deciding to have fun in the rain. It wasn't really expected, probably colder than expected, windier than expected. These guys just said, let's take our shirts off, go up into this one section in the corner, and just go nuts. Not only for to have fun ourselves, but to maybe spark the football team. So an interesting, a really good example, I think, of what people can do to just kind of get out of a funk.
I will say it did completely change the atmosphere. Not that the atmosphere ended up changing the game in any way.
Yeah.
But I felt a direct change in the stadium atmosphere when that happened. Just it starts with 3 guys, and then it's 10, and then 20, and then all of a sudden the entire section's full, and you could really feel the buzz. So I think you're right, Rob. The football team could use that. And it makes me think of Hilton Coliseum, which I still feel like I've never really seen this come across on TV at any other arena. But Hilton is the one place where the other team could go on a 12-0 run, and then the entire arena starts standing up. It's got to be such a mind. It's got to affect with the other team's mind in some way. And Iowa State could really use that right now, where, hey, we might be on a 4-game losing streak, but let's come out there with some swagger on Saturday and have some fun.
Well, and the news that Noah told me is he's going to do it again on Saturday for the Kansas game. On this last home game, you can expect to see him up there, in that section, and he's not bringing a shirt. So I think the Cyclones will have that at least going for him for the last home game.
We'll see what the temp is for that final game on November 22nd. Either way, I do not doubt Noah's word at all, and I'd imagine there would be a lot of guys up there. In some more football terms, Iowa State has a tough game this Saturday at TCU. Rob, I know you wanted to talk about the running game. Is what they're doing right now going to carry over into Saturday, and does it even matter if it does?
Yeah, those are both great questions. The second one is the best one because, of course, they've run the ball as effectively the past 4 games that they have all season, and it didn't matter. Not even at Colorado. Even last week, only 150 only. This is a team a couple years ago that was almost dead last in the Big 12. Maybe it was 119 yards a game, and even lower than that at one point in Campbell's tenure. But it's just, I still think, and again, TCU is second ranked in Big 12, allowing 119 a game. But Arizona State and BYU were both third coming in, and they ran really effectively against BYU. So I think, I know Sonny Dykes thinks that Iowa State's going to come in and try to run the football and try to establish identity that way, despite their TCU's front 7, really good, hard-hitting safeties that come in, crash in, and help in the run, corners too. But if they can, I think they have a chance. I think if they can't, given the chronic problems we've seen in the passing game, no matter how many yards are put up, whether it be a drop, a misfire, miscommunication, they're going to have to be able to run the ball somewhat effectively to have a chance, at least get to TCU's average of right around 120, and then we'll see if it has an impact. But I'd feel positive about it if they can at least hit TCU up the way its average is, but also continue to force turnovers, like the 3 turnovers forced in the last game that fruitless against the Sun Devils, but certainly usually bear fruit when you get that many turnovers.
Yeah, it's such a frustrating stat when you put it in that perspective, Rob, because the last 2 years, it's what if they could run the ball? Could you imagine if they could run the ball? And now they're finally doing it, and for whatever reason, it's not translating to points. And I wonder, I guess depending on how Iowa State's able to run the ball on Saturday and how many times they're able to get inside the red zone, inside the 5, if they revert back to trying to run the ball inside the 5. Don't even try and pass. And that's not a total Rocco thing either. They've had some success in the red zone and then it gets called back for a holding or something else. I wonder if the offensive line is playing well. Let's run it up the middle and see what happens. I kind of think that's what's going to happen, and it could really help the team.
One of their best weapons, and of course in the red zone passing game, is Ben Bramer. Obviously leading receptions, and of course we haven't touched on it yet, but obviously an extremely scary moment and great moment to find out that I think even before he was carted off, Coach Campbell had a good idea that Ben was going to be okay in, as Campbell would say, a global way. But he's so effective in that. And it's not like Burkle can't be. It's not like other guys in the receiving corps can't be. But just, try to grind it in there. I mean, and if you want to also be an identity game, you just lost two in a row at home. Be that team with a giant chip on your shoulder going on the road and just saying, you know what, no matter what happens, we're going to stick to this and we'll sprinkle in the other stuff and we're going to be meaner and nastier than the Horned Frogs.
Rob, I asked if Matt Campbell wants to lean on that running game more when we talked to him on Tuesday, and he said yes. Those are the veteran guys, the trusted guys, and they've been so consistent, above 4.2 yards per carry in the last 4 games. These games Iowa State's lost, they've been running the ball so well, which is just so confounding. And Campbell said, of course, when he thinks about trying to hunker down and get back to what's working, he's going to lean on those trusted guys. So I expect a little bit more of the dosage of the run game for sure.
Yeah, Rob,
Absolutely.
you mentioned the Bramer injury, and just so relieving that he's okay, and in Campbell's words that it was just a scare on something that could have been even more of a scare.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the obvious news of him being okay, I thought everything said about Bramer at the press conference on Tuesday was just really good stuff. And I think it showed a lot into his personality that we typically don't. He's one of the more buttoned up in the media. Yeah. He's more of a reserved guy, but I think it was really cool to get his personality from Matt Campbell, saying that right before he got carted off, I'll be back in a few plays. And then what he texted the group chat, according to Jim Boniface, was just, hey guys. And,
what's up?
And everyone was you're okay. I thought that was some really good stuff from Campbell and then Bramer's teammates.
Agreed. I mean, go ahead, Ben.
I mean, you're exactly right. Like, we just got to see a little bit of his personality, and Matt said, regarding the, hey, I'll be back in a few minutes. If you know Ben, that's Ben. Like, that shows what this guy's mentality is when they're getting wheeled out of here. And, it's probably a thing where I'd expect to probably see Ben Bramer at least try and play football again, just from that picture of it. Who knows if it's this season? We got very uncertain, updates on that. I don't think there is a timeline right now, but personally, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see that guy who said, hey, I'll be back in a few minutes, at least try and lace him up one more time.
Yeah, and then again, I mean, the football fan, coached by his dad in high school, I mean, football's in that guy's blood. And I think if it had actually been a real scare, I think the conversation's different, probably. But yeah, I would not be surprised at all. And again, because I asked Campbell about that, and I think they're not even at that stage. I think family are talking about just taking stock of things, and it sounds like they were all here, which is obviously really good for Ben in that scary situation. But yeah, I'd imagine that guy wants to get out there immediately if he could, and help the team. But it's just going to be a matter of when, in terms of how good they feel about it, and just they probably want to really make a thorough deep dive to say, like, okay, let's 100% figure everything out here.
The thing that I saw that made me feel a little bit better about the situation was on Saturday night. I think it was Kel Brzezina who tweeted out the picture, or Instagrammed the picture of, Bramer, and said he got his reboot with a Fortnite reference. So if those guys were joking about it in that way, that made me feel maybe a little bit better about the situation. And I felt terrible, like, smiling at that caption, but I thought it was hilarious.
Well, and also his touchdown celebration when he did score in the first half, he did a Fortnite dance. So
I missed that, Jake. Which one was it? You might need to do it right here on the Beat Reporters for us. I missed it.
I haven't picked up Fortnite and it's been at least 5 or 6 years, so I don't know it by heart. I just knew when he did it that it was a Fortnite dance. So I thought that was a funny little callback. Maybe Bramer, Brazina, and whoever lives in their house or apartment, they're on a big Fortnite kick right now.
Rob, what's your favorite Fortnite dance?
Well, I know my son used to love it. He's 16, but I don't think he's played Fortnite a long time. So I don't know. He might actually look down on the Cyclones for playing Fortnite. It's such a passe. These things come and go, though, right? I mean, it's like, oh no, it's not cool, and then it's cool again. But that's obviously very cool. That, as you mentioned, the Brazina thing, all of us saw that, and you're like, whew. Beyond just okay, he was treated and released. There's somebody there joking with them while he's giving a thumbs up, and just again a situation I've never been involved with on a football field. I mean, press box looking down at a football field. I mean, the silence at Jack Trice Stadium. I've never. That was surreal.
Well, here we've got it. Oh, one sec. There we go. Here we've got Bramer crossing into the end zone. I stayed on him a little longer. Almost, and then yep, here is the. I think it's just the very basic one.
Oh yeah, it's that one dancing. Yeah.
So, first and foremost, oh, that's just me. Sorry, Aiden. I'm screwing up the entire program. If you're watching here on YouTube, the only important thing is that Bramer's good to go, and whether or not he plays Saturday or the rest of the year or next year, that's the important takeaway, is that Bramer's all good. Do you guys have any other topics football-wise you want to hit on before we move to some men's basketball?
Not really.
Yeah.
Unless you do, Ben.
Unfortunately, we've kind of gotten to the point, and Campbell has referenced it too. It's that he knows that he's repeating himself week in, week out, and I commend him for that, because I don't think he's lying to us. I really don't. I think the problems that he's addressing in the press conference every week are the same problems, and they just keep coming back up, and they don't really know the answers. So
yep.
we don't really know the answers either. If we did, we might be making a little bit more money to be on a
little bit
on a football staff. So we'll move on to some basketball, but first I'd like to give a shout out to our friends at Farm Story Meats. It is, I mean, I don't know when you guys officially declare the holiday season, but it's here or here adjacent, and a meat box from the Farm Store Meats is always a great gift. I like to get my dad every year some sort of, whether it's a gift card to a certain place with meat or just buy the meat itself. This year I know for sure I'm going to get him, hopefully he's not listening, so I'm going to get him a bundle to Farm Story Meats. It's all pasture raised. It's family owned, and it's as good and as safe of meat as you'll find here in Iowa. So go to farmstorymeats.com and order yourself a bundle, order some family members, some friends, whoever you want. Keep Farm Story Meats in mind when you're ordering your Christmas gifts this Christmas season. Basketball time. We're in the heart of crossover season. We all spent about 12-hour days at Hilton Coliseum on Monday. It was good to be back in there for the doubleheader. The men get things started with a 38-point win over Fairleigh Dickinson. And I think the biggest takeaway for anybody was to see Mila Momcilovic come out with a career night, hit 7 threes after his struggles in the 2 exhibition games. What did you guys think about Milan on Monday night?
The thing that jumped out to me is Milan missed his first 2 shots. Right back to back. He attempts one of those fadeaway signature jump shots, misses it. Nate hides the offensive rebound, kick out to a wide open 3-pointer, and Milan missed that too. And I watched his expression. He kind of grimaces as he's running back down the floor. And the conversation for Milan that it feels like everybody points out is man, he's such a streaky guy, like hot shooter. If he sees one go in, it's going to be a great Milan night, and if not, it's a bad Milan night. So of course he goes out and sets a new career high. Maybe this is the evolution that we're seeing or going to see from Milan Momcilovic this season, is miss a couple shots early and have the mental fortitude to stay in it and continue to get so hot. I think he made 11 out of his next 13 shots is the stat I had. Yeah. So certainly an impressive display of kind of mental toughness, I think, from Milan.
Yeah, and he was doing it not just from the three-point line, and that's something I asked TJ about after the game, and he said that's the most important thing, that he was creating in other ways. You know, whether he's hot or not from the three-point line, TJ told us today, basically sounds like he wants to see him taking 10 three-pointers a game, and he wants a bad game to be 3 makes. Well, then a good game, really good game, is career high 7 out of 10. Sit somewhere between 4 and 6. I mean, look at where that percentage is going to be at the end of the year if 3 of 10 is usually the floor. So I really like his ability, and I asked Milan about it after that. You know, I feel like that ball fake to get the defender off his feet is somewhat new for him. I mean, he said he had a few things that he showed, like maybe once last year here and there, but that's going to be a huge help for him as he faces guys who are just as big as him and are a lot more athletic than the Knights, you know, to be able to free up his shot. Because anybody who sees him put ball fake, they're going to want to block that shot. So he could just get set quickly and release quickly and make those shots. I think that's hugely important for him. In addition to the drive it a little bit, work your way for the fadeaway, get yourself down in the paint, grind a guy down a little bit, and get a layup. I mean, those are big parts of his game now as well.
Yeah, it's the art of not overreacting or not reacting enough to these games. And when you've got the 2 exhibition games, you don't want to overreact. 1, because they don't count. 2, because they're probably not going to run a ton of offense, or I guess new offense. And 3, they didn't have Tamin Lipsey. And then you also don't want to overreact to these first non-conference games because, you know, the opponent. So it is finding that balance, but I would imagine the confidence that Momcilovic gets from seeing all those shots go down has to help going forward. And it also has to help having his point guard back, who Tamin, I wouldn't call him a knockdown three-point shooter, but he does enough to space the floor. And he had such a burst on Monday night to be able to get to the rim. That, creating turnovers, getting out in transition, all of that is going to help Milan down the stretch, and that's not even including the conversation about Joshua Jefferson. But as far as Tamin goes, Ben, I know we were talking a little bit where you've really only seen an injured Tamin Lipsey in your time here in Ames. Was there anything on Monday night that seemed new to you or seemed different?
I mean, that first three-pointer he stepped up and knocked down, man. You know, that's maybe the confident Tamin Lipsey, the offensive threat Tamin Lipsey that you were telling me about his sophomore season. I mean, it's almost like a different guy from what I got used to seeing in my first year on the beat last year. So I think that's definitely a key to Iowa State kind of unlocking that next level, is Tamin being more of that three-point shooter, that scorer when he needs to be. My takeaway, one of them that I wrote from the game, was Tamin Lipsey didn't look like he was walking in a recovery pool 4 weeks ago. I mean, we've seen this guy get right from injuries so much, and TJ talked about Tamin knowing his body and kind of giving him the option of, hey, how much do you want to play? And Tamin, I think, you know, was playing like 16 minutes in the first half, and then as the game got out of hand, he didn't need to play as much in the second half. But watching him move and score, man, that was the most impressive thing for me, considering he was walking in an injury pool, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I mean, you couldn't have scripted a better return for Tamin Lipsey, especially when you think about how shot 20% from 3 as a freshman when he got pressed into duty, and here it is, wide open 3, nails it right away. And it had been so long. I mean, Tamin was so banged up last year, and of course, then couldn't play down the stretch. It looked like a whole new Tamin Lipsey to me, too. Just watching him, I just isolated on him sometimes, just watching how he came over and just pawed at the ball and could see where the pass is going and would come in there, try to get a hand on it. He did those things last season. I mean, he's the all-time steals guy for a reason, breaking Monty Morris's record, and he's just going to shatter that thing. But he was so active and so fast. I mean, his driving and finishing has been good throughout his career and sometimes great. He looks like he's taken another step in that area as well. And we know what he's like on defense. We know he's going to track down rebounds. But we also now know, I think, that's steadying presence. I mean, I think everyone just knowing that he can be on the floor helps everyone. I mean, not just in small. I mean, I think it's almost an immeasurable mental aid to everyone in that team. With the knock on wood, when he throws his body around the way that he does, can stay relatively healthy throughout this season.
Yeah, Rob, I guess when you talk about the change between him and his sophomore and junior year, as much of it was about his health, I think a lot of it was Keyshawn and Curtis. And that was the staff saying, which I think they were right, the Keyshawn Gilbert that they had for the first 2 months of the season last year was one of the best players in the country. So they wanted the ball in his hands more.
Yep.
And then Curtis Jones just ascended into also one of the best players in the country. And Tamin he shifted back into more of an off-ball role, which was not at all what he'd done before. So I think what you're seeing now is he is the primary ball handler again. It's probably him, Jefferson, and Torrey in that order on who's going to be handling the ball the most in that starting lineup. And I agree with you, Rob. That's a good word. Steadying presence and kind of a peace of mind throughout the entire team when Lipsey's out there, just in all aspects.
I think this could be Tamin Lipsey's best defensive year. And what I mean by that is I asked TJ after the game, what does it do to the defense on the perimeter when you're able to play Torrey with Lipsey? This is the first time we've seen him together in game action. And I thought Otzelberger gave me such a great answer. He said, Torrey is so good on ball. He's so athletic. He's so physical. He's so fast. That's what's getting him this playing time. He's going to be the guy to lock down whoever's bringing it up the floor. He likes to pressure the entire length of the court. And that frees up Tamin Lipsey to be more of the ball hawk, to be more of the guy looking to jump a passing lane, make a steal, gamble on some plays. And we saw it so effective on the game against FDU, all of these transition layups that Lipsey had. I think he had 4 of them, 3 of them coming in the second half. So I'm really interested to see what this kind of backcourt defense looks like with Lipsey and Torrey and how they complement each other just because of kind of their distinct defensive styles.
That's a great point, Ben, because Torrey's length too. I mean, it's going to bother guys in so many different ways. And then I'm going to call it Tamin's defensive creativity. He's like he'll just try anything out there, and you see he does it effortlessly. His instincts are so good. His basketball IQ is so good that from a steals number, from a deflection number, from a defensive rebounding number, I completely see where he could have his best season, and Torrey would be a big reason why, because of what he presents, like you said, on the ball, man.
Otzelberger said on media day that he thought this team had what it took to be as good defensively on the perimeter as his first team. When you go back to the Brockington, Tyrese Hunter, Gabe Kalsher team, which was phenomenal on perimeter defense. And I think I saw the makings of that on Monday night. I know in the exhibitions, of course, there's no Lipsey, but I also think it takes time, the way Iowa State plays defense, where Otzelberger's talked a lot about this so far this year, where as much as it is just being physically imposing, you're almost gambling on every single time down the floor. And when you're gambling, you're in scramble mode a lot. And when you're in scramble mode a lot of it is just knowing your teammates and knowing their instincts. And that will get better over the course of the year. But seeing Lipsey out there with Torre, and that's not to mention what you're getting out of Heisey, and I think Bateman's going to get there in a couple of weeks. That is just a really imposing defense out there on the perimeter that is going to give some teams some hard times, and I think it'll be Iowa State's best strength this season.
Yeah, Nate Heisey, I guess, is the defensive captain, so that's saying something. Our friend at the Des Moines Register, Travis Hines, was asking about that today, and said that's saying something. You got the all-time steals leader in Lipsey, and they're calling him, but I think that's because Heisey also very good on-ball defender, very tough defender. He'll bump you. He will make you work, and he will kind of tell you about it. He doesn't seem like he has that personality, but on the defensive end particularly, he has that swagger, and I don't want to say meanness, but just aggression that I could imagine could really, really tick off opponents. And you have a guy like that cares like that, that's invested and is kind of ebbed and flowed in that area. Have a virtual C on it, for defensive captain on his jersey. I think that's hugely helpful as well.
Heisey comes off the bench in that opener, guys. Any thoughts on that? I was a little bit surprised maybe to see Heisey coming off the bench, but he's one of those people that, TJ's talked about is able to he's going to start games this season with injuries and just the things that happen to a college basketball lineup, and what a luxury to be able to bring that guy off the bench.
Yeah, he's in that sixth starter role that Kurt Jones was in last year. And I actually asked Heisey about that on Wednesday morning, what he could take from how Kurt approached that role. And what he said, to paraphrase, was that even though they're very different players when it comes to play style, they're really nothing alike. It's all about the mindset and knowing that regardless of when he checks in, regardless of how many minutes he plays, he's probably going to play pretty close to starter minutes anyway. Regardless of all of those extra circumstances, he can control how aggressive he is from the start and how aggressive he can be right when he checks into the game. And it seems, at least the way Heisey's talking so far, the way he played in the Northwestern exhibition, even the way he played Monday night with only 3 points, he seems way more intent and knows exactly what he's going to do when he's out there. And that's helped the team. When Nate Heisey is a big piece of having the ball in his hands, of course, playing on the defensive end, Iowa State's a better team from it.
And I asked, I believe, TJ about that, and he said he thought Heisey played, quote-unquote, great. And when you're 1 of 3 from 3, you don't shoot a 2-point ball, everyone thinks about scoring, right? Heisey hits the first one, didn't barely off on the other 2, but he did so many other things when he drove it, found open teammates. 4 assists, 5 rebounds, 0 turnovers. Rare for him, 0 steals too, but those are winning numbers. You're getting from Nate Heisey, and especially for a guy that doesn't have an ego about how many points he puts up. That's a luxury to have a guy that plays that hard, that is like, okay, well, yeah, I didn't score a whole lot, but I feel really good about how I played. That's...
You need that.
And not many teams have that either.
I could argue that there's several guys on the team like this. Like Tamin doesn't care how much he scores. He can be just as happy with a 4-point game as a 20-point game, and it's kind of whatever the game warrants. I feel like he's almost never going to be playing out of the rhythm of the game. And Heisey's kind of that same way, where you're right, Rob, 3 points and you walk away thinking he still plays great. I think another player that might fit into that mold eventually is Blake Buchanan. That's another player we talked to on Wednesday. And we're still seeing his role defined a little bit. He's still trying to adjust on the offensive end, it seems. He had a nice finish on Monday night, but for the most part hasn't been able to stay out of foul trouble. But what do you guys envision Buchanan's role in the long-term sense of the season?
I don't expect Iowa State to be drawing up a lot of offensive sets for Buchanan. I saw he had a little nice hook shot. I thought, man, no disrespect to Deshaun Jackson, but I think they're just a little bit of a different offensive skill set. I don't remember Jackson turning around and making a little hook shot like that. So I don't know. I don't see a huge offensive component in Buchanan's game, and he didn't play a whole lot of minutes on the opener. but certainly excited to see what his development looks like as he's learning to play in an offense that's not, going super slowly up and down the floor as he did in Virginia. I think there's a lot of room for growth for Buchanan.
Yeah, well, TJ, I mean, I think TJ felt that Buchanan was mismatched to that style of play. Not that Iowa State hasn't played really slow and deliberate at times out of necessity, but that's not what they want to be this season or certainly last season. I always talked about his ability to rim run. And again, the foul trouble. I looked, he still had 2 offensive rebounds and 2 steals despite playing only 14 minutes against FDU and drawing 4 fouls. And TJ talked about what the issue was there is he's not getting out in front of the play. He's kind of on his heels. And part of that is understanding they defend a little bit differently than Iowa State. He's even mentioned, he's got to make more calls. He's got to switch more and sometimes be out on a guard and stop that guard from just completely blowing by him. And those are different things to adapt to. And again, the guy's athleticism, you could see it. And the alley-oop dunk from the Dominic Nelson assist, I mean, in some of the plays on the defensive end, and the fact that he is such a good offensive rebounder, I think is going to be the bulk of his chances. You don't have to run a lot of offense with Blake Buchanan, nor do you want to, given the type of guys you have like Milan and Jefferson and all that, who are going to run a lot of stuff for. But he's going to get his as long as he could stay on the floor. And it sounds like he's completely on the same page with TJ. It's just a matter of fully getting up to speed. I mean, again, we're only looking at game 2, really, coming up. And I know that TJ says we're going to see a lot more from him moving forward.
Yeah, I think Otzelberger talking about the rotation so far has been interesting. When he said on Wednesday, we're just playing 10 guys, and we're going to figure it out from there. Whoever makes the winning plays, whoever is able to, even if they're not having shots fall, whoever is getting the stops on the defensive end, closing possessions, tipping passes, it all comes back to winning plays. Whoever's making the winning plays is going to earn playing time. And I think Buchanan's going to get there. Obviously, the more he could play, the better. If he can avoid foul trouble and get out to more than 14 minutes a game, that'd be nice. But he'll have a big test against Mississippi State next week. They've got some good bigs, and they'll need Buchanan, Mulder, Plata ready to go. Obviously, we all know what we'll get out of Joshua Jefferson, but they definitely need one of those 5 men to be able to have an impact game up in Sioux Falls next Monday.
I think Buchanan could be really important. Just as a last thought on this, Jake. I mean, Iowa State doesn't really have somebody physically in Buchanan's mold. I don't look at Eric Mulder out there and think, man, that guy's a true 5. Same with Plata. I don't look at him out there as just a true 5 interior dominator. So I think it could be a little bit more important for Buchanan to play some of those minutes, as he's the only one who physically has that mold, I think, on this team.
Yeah, and he said, TJ, one of the things he told him when he was just mentioning some of the stuff you mentioned to us is, hey, you're gonna hit double doubles. You're gonna do these things. It's just stick with it. And look back at the Creighton game, the one exhibition game, the one game he wasn't in foul trouble. He had 8 points and 7 rebounds. So he was in that territory against a very, very good team right out of the gate. And I think we've only seen the surface of Blake Buchanan and what he can do. As long as he can keep himself on the floor, I think we'll see him come up big in some big moments.
You guys want to flip to talk about the women's team a little bit?
Sure.
So full disclosure, we're recording this Wednesday afternoon before the Cyclones play the Southern Jaguars at Hilton Coliseum, and you're listening to this on Thursday. So I'm assuming that the Cyclones are not going to lose to Southern. Just a bold take on my end. And we're just going to have more of a bigger picture talk about the Cyclones as they open up their season with a win over St. Thomas. Rob, that was just a different looking Bill Fennelly team, right?
Yeah, on both ends. But I mean, it's a little bit like TJ's team, using defense to create offense. I mean, every coach talks about trying to do that, but Iowa State hasn't been built that way. I mean, Emily Ryan, record-setting guard, an icon at Iowa State for good reason, now on the coaching staff. I mean, elite player for Iowa State, but she was a tough defender. She didn't play with the speed. I mean, extremely tough defender. She didn't play with the speed of a Jada Williams, the speed of freshman Reese Beatty. And Reese Beatty just looks like a runaway train out there sometimes. And then Coach Fennelly will say sometimes that probably makes him want to pull his hair out, and she barrels into the lane against three people and throws a shot up. But you see her swagger, her ability, and she says she plays with a chip on her shoulder, and you see that. I mean, I've not seen an Iowa State team play that fast. Now, again, St. Thomas, undersized Summit League team, decent program, but I don't know how they're going to end up finishing. But nonetheless, you do that against anybody the way Iowa State is. That was eye-opening to me, the way that they went 29 to 3 points off turnovers. You just don't see that from Fennelly's teams. And funny enough, I mean, Coach Fennelly said the biggest positive for the defense was he took himself out of it and let his son Billy and longtime assistant Jody Steyer kind of take the reins there. And I don't know if that's just some self-deprecating humor to some extent, but clearly they're trying to create an identity where they're truly disruptive, and they feel like they got the athletes that can bring that to fruition.
It starts with defending the perimeter. And I think if you look holistically at this Iowa State's women's basketball team, what's going to be the biggest difference between a disappointing season last year and a successful season this year? I think it comes down to defending the three and making the threes. And with the players that Iowa State brought in, I mean, they were one of the worst three-point defensive teams last season. And I think they brought in some size with Polk. They brought in some speed with Williams. And I think they're going to be better defensively. That's been perhaps the thing that Bill Finley's been harping on more than anything, is defending the three. And then, the return of Kinsey Hare. And Iowa State's going to be able to get some of these threes. I thought that was super underrated. I mean, we forget just how much of a locked-in starter she is. We didn't really get to see her at full strength last season. She came into Iowa State nursing that hip injury, managed to fight through the first, I think, month of the season before deciding to shut it down. It's going to be interesting to see, what kind of element she brings now that she's feeling good, feeling healthy.
She's got a great stroke. I mean, I think she was a 40% three-point shooter at Marquette, right? I mean, so she missed a couple, and then she got in her groove. I mean, also a good defender. She's kind of like a be-everything veteran that, as you said, Ben, we saw a shell of her for that roughly month. And, a lot of X factors, I think, on this team, but her well-rounded ability in all areas, I think, is going to be one of those things to keep an eye on moving forward. If she can stay healthy, she's, if you need a big three, she's got the guts to take it. Fennelly often talks about, do you have players who can make threes? Yes. Do you have some who will be willing to take a tough one in a key moment? I think this team has a number of those players, and I think Kinsey Hare is one of them. Yeah.
We know what we're getting. It feels like every night from Audie Crooks. We know what we're getting every night from Addie Brown. It's going to be these surrounding pieces, these three-point swings that I think are going to determine the ceiling of this Iowa State women's basketball team that I think is pretty dang high, guys. Like, Iowa State has the athletes. I think the biggest thing is going to be staying healthy. That's what got them in trouble last season, is the depth. But I think Iowa State's starting five has got to be up there with maybe not the UConns and the South Carolinas. We saw how those matchups went for this team last year, but I think they're certainly within the upper echelon of tiers in women's college basketball.
Yeah, I think they should be really good. And again, we have to be careful to not overreact to St. Thomas. But how many Iowa State teams over the years go on a 19-0 run? Almost none. It just doesn't happen. Fennelly even joked about that in the presser and said that his teams typically don't do that. So I think what I've seen on film from Jada Williams at her past school at Arizona, that combined with Kinsey Hare, we all know Ariana Jackson's defensive identity. It just seems like a different level of perimeter defense than what we've been used to, and that could be really, really good for this team like Ben said, with what you know you're getting out of Addie Brown and Audie Crooks.
Yeah, and I think another player to watch, Alyssa Williams. I really liked her activity level in that game. I think it's been tough to have a role. I mean, a highly recruited kid. I mean, you end up at LSU. I mean, you're good. I mean, if LSU wants you, and just not that many opportunities. I think she's going to have some opportunities, and she's somebody who I think can really defend really well and runs the floor well. And we all know the last thing for me on this, Audie Crooks, she can shoot free throws the way that she shot them Monday and in their exhibition. That's a minimum probably of one and probably two more wins for Iowa State. You know, to go from 68-ish, 70, whatever it was, to 80, 82. I mean, as much as she's going to be living at the line because of what she does, I mean, that's a huge development. And I think, if she can keep that up, and just another encouraging sign in terms of that ceiling that Ben spoke of.
Awesome, guys. Well, we'll all have our respective coverages through Cyclone Fanatic, Cedar Rapids Gazette, and the Quad City Times for all of crossover season. So be sure to check out Rob and Ben's great work at their respective publications. And we'll be back next week here on the Beat Reporters. We'll have a TCU game to react to. We'll be on a bye week. We'll also have a big basketball game in Sioux Falls on Monday to react to. So we'll have a lot to talk about here in the Northwest Bank Studios. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Beat Reporters. We'll be back next week.